Every beautiful place had a painful time in the history of its making. Today we are in Amsterdam, in a secret house. 8 Jews and 4 Dutch friends who helped them hide from the Nazis. And then the author of their story, Anne Frank. We go back to the year 1929, June 14, Frankfurt, Germany. Our Anne Frank was born. Little the little girl knew that her life will always be discussed as a chapter of world history. They were a family of 4: Father Otto Frank, Mother Edith Frank, Sister Margot Frank, and she herself, the Anne Frank. A family like many other Jew families who had to migrate from one place to another when in 1933 an anti-Semitic political party came into power. People who hated Jews. And not to much of everyone's surprise, their leader was none other than Adolf Hitler. The party formed was called National Socialist and their members Nazis. Germany was then a poor country and Hitler promised people to rise to their former glory. He wanted Germans to be proud of their country and he could convince the Germans to unite under a strong leader like him because he wanted them to believe that they were being threatened by the enemies. According to the Nazis, the Jews were Germany's greatest enemy. They started taking any possible action against the Jews. They introduced many anti-Jewish laws and discrimination grew to a dangerous level altogether by then. Anne's father worked in a bank those days, and before that he served the German army. But he too had to suffer the same plight as other fellow Jews. He had to leave the country he loved and served. His entire family had to shift from Germany to the Netherlands. The Frank family found a new life in Amsterdam. Anne's father started a jam company, Opekta, in Amsterdam. Anne's mother Edith used to feel homesick for Germany and wrote many letters to her friends in Germany. But going back wasn't an option for them. By then, Hitler and the Nazis now wanted power all over Europe. In 1939, the German army invaded Poland. England and France joined the fight because they were allies with Poland. And the Second World War began. On the 10th of May 1940, the Germans entered Netherlands. They were so powerful that they occupied Netherlands in 5 days. After the Nazis destroyed Rotterdam, the Dutch had to surrender. Soon the Nazis were in power in Netherlands too. Now they could do everything they did in Germany. In the meantime, the German army conquered Belgium and France and they closed all borders. So escape was almost impossible. Life was good till now for Anne and Margot, and the Frank family lived happily in the south of Amsterdam. But things started to change again in their lives and in the lives of other Jewish families. Anne and Margot were forced to go to a Jewish grammar school as the Jewish children were not allowed to study together with the non-Jewish ones. Slowly but surely, the Nazis took away all the Jews' freedom. First, they may not work for government. Then, they must hand over all their companies to the Nazis. They must carry their identification paper stamped with a big J. They were not even allowed to go out with non-Jews. And they had to wear a yellow star so that everyone could see they were Jews. In between all the massacre, it was Anne's 13th birthday in the year 1942, 12th of June. And that was the day the historic diary became a part of her life. And we may also say, later, a part of many lives. Anne named the diary Kitty and penned her like a confidant. Sunday, 14th of June, 1942.
I still have a lot to tell you. I will begin from the moment I got you. I saw you lying on the table.
The most difficult moment arrived for the Franks family on a Sunday afternoon when a postman delivered a registered letter for Anne's sister. Margot was ordered to report for work duty in Germany, but this wasn't just a work order from Germany. Everyone knew if she goes to Germany, she will never return, and if she doesn't report, then police will come after her and punish the whole family.
I was stunned. Visions of concentration camps and lonely cells raced through my head.
Anne's parents saw it coming. By then, they had already planned hiding from the Nazis. Finally, they moved to a new shelter and hid behind Anne's father's company building. It was in the center of the town near the Western Church. The front part had the company offices and the storage area, but behind that, there was another house, a secret annex where they can hide. 4 friends, cum colleagues, Miebkes, Bev Kuski, Victor Kugler, Jonas Kleman, helped Otto Frank and his family in this hiding and kept their promise to supply them with food and other supplies they might need. Although it was dangerous for people helping the Jews. If caught, they were severely punished. Ten days later, Van Pel's family joined the Frank family in the annex, and 4 months later, Fritz Pfeffer also joined them. Van Pel was Otto Frank's co-director in the business, and both the families were close even before the hiding, and Fritz Pfeffer was a long-time acquaintance of the family. Even though they had a place to hide, but it was really difficult for 8 people to live in such close quarters months after months, and that too with the fear of being caught one day. The hiding always remained a secret. The building's ground floor was a warehouse and ran from the back garden all the way to the streets. People working there never suspected what was happening above them. The families had to be more conscious as the Dutch walls were very thin, and so during the day they had to be completely quiet. The door to the secret annex was hidden behind a bookcase hanging on hinges. Anne wrote in her diary,
"We're not allowed to look out of the windows at all, or to go outside. Also, we have to do everything softly in case they hear us below. And then I am really afraid that we will be discovered shortly." Many of my friends and their families who are not hiding are treated very roughly and are transported in cattle trucks to the big concentration camps of Jews. Escape is almost impossible. English radios say that in some camps they are being gassed. That's the quickest way to die. I feel so terrible.
And then suddenly, on one such day, there was an announcement by the German chief of police that all Jews must be removed from Netherlands from the 1st of July 1943. But in secret, the Nazis actually decided to kill as many Jews as they can. Anne's diary also mentioned a little contentment and hope in her words on the Dutch resistance fighters' act of destroying the city's board of police records, which would make it much difficult a task for the Nazis to trace and track down the Jews.
March 29th, 1944. Dear Kitty, last night the Cabinet Minister speaking on the Dutch broadcast from London said that after the war, collection will be made on diaries and letters dealing with the war. Of course, everyone pounced on my diary. Just imagine how interesting it would be if I were to publish a novel about the secret annex. The title alone will make people think it's a detective story.
From then onwards, Anne started writing in different sheets of paper, maybe in the hope of her new book.
June 6th. Dearest Kitty, this is the day. The English news announced at 12 o'clock, and quite rightly this is the day. The invasion has begun.
The German army did not expect the invasion. The Allies were strong, but painfully slow. The German army fought back hard. Anne's father kept charting the Allied advances every day, every hour, and followed the latest news on the radio.
Under the command of General
There was
Eisenhower,
somewhere a ray of hope again. Anne's diary.
The best part of the invasion is that I have the feelings that friends are approaching.
Anne and Margot hoped that they will go back to school again. They were already treading plans for their future. Anne wanted to be a writer and journalist, and Margot wanted to become a maternity nurse.
It's twice as hard for us, young people, to hold on to our opinions at a time when ideals are shattered and destroyed, when the worst side of human nature predominates, when everyone has come to doubt truth, justice, and God. It's a wonder I haven't abandoned all my ideals. They seem so upset and impractical. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. It's certainly impossible for me to build my life on a foundation of chaos, suffering, and death.
Anne kept writing more and more on her new pages of hope. But unfortunately, Anne couldn't live up to her hope on mankind much longer. According to the saying, on August 4, 1944, someone phoned the Germans of Amsterdam with a message about Jews hiding in number 263 Prinzert. As the rage of the Germans couldn't wait any longer, the Jewish families hiding in the secret annex were immediately arrested by Germans accompanied by Dutch policemen. They marched through the warehouse and climbed the stairs to the offices. The staffs were taken by surprise, and both the colleagues of Anne's father, Victor Kugler and Johannes Klimmen, who were present there, were immediately arrested. No one could any further save the Jews from their secret quarters now. All in hiding were taken to prison. Later that day, Miep Kees looked through the annex that police ransacked while looking for anything valuable, and among which she found Anne's diary and other papers in the mess. She kept it only in the hope to return it to little Anne when she returns one day. After the arrest, Anne Frank and the rest of the families were moved from one concentration camp to another. She started off with others at the Westbrook camp. A month later, a 3-day-long trip without food and water, they ended up in the Auschwitz, the enormous extermination camp in Poland. After 2 months, Anne and her sister Margot were sent to Bergen-Belsen camp, where Margot stayed with her little sister till she died of typhus. Anne survived another 5 months until she ceased to hunger, cold, exertion, sickness, and finally death in March 1945. Just a few months later, the English liberated Bergen-Belsen camp, but by that time there were more dead people than living. Anne's mother died in hunger exertion in Auschwitz. Rest of the families died in different camps. Only Otto Frank survived the ordeal. Out of 107,000 Dutch Jews deported to the concentration camps, only 5,000 survived. In May 1945, the German army surrendered. The war was over and the Nazis were defeated. Otto Frank returned to Netherlands in June 1945. Both his friends, Victor and Klimmen, survived their arrests too. Otto was given the detail of what really happened later to his family. The broken Otto Frank survived the rest of his life with Anne's diary and her wish to turn the diary into a book. The father did collect all her notes and fulfilled his little girl's last wish of becoming a writer. There must have been so many stories of hunger, pain, fear, and death coming from each of those Jewish classmates Anne had. But we only know about Anne's story as she lived a lifetime through those pages in her diary. Thank you for watching the history part of Travel with Reet. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel Travel with Reet for more stories.